Welcome into a brand new edition of WarUp on a WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson, breaking down what happened this past week. A lot of wrestling action from this past week. We had AA subsections, sections, and WPILs. AAA, we had subsections and section action. So it was all jam-packed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nonstop wrestling. And now we're into the trends of wrestling just on Saturdays for the next 2 weeks until the state championships, which will occur on Friday and Saturday. We want to first start our coverage off talking a little bit about AA, and we're just going to kind of focus more on the WPIAL championships. Certainly we may reference about some of the section action, but we want to focus on the WPILs. And in particular, we had history that was made on Saturday. We had the 31st four-time WPIAL champion. There were 3 wrestlers that could have potentially joined the 4-time club, but only one of 3 was able to earn that distinction, and he's kind enough to join us on the show. Ian Oswalt of Barr. Ian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Ian, congratulations on being a 4-timer. How does it feel to get that distinction of being the 31st 4-timer?
It feels great, obviously. Since my freshman year, getting that first title, I knew that was something I was in the position to do. And year after year, I, worked towards that goal. And it's been something I've looked forward to my whole high school career. And, I'm just happy that I got it done and, can join that elite group because obviously I joined Joe McCara and Jordan Shields, who also won 4 titles at Burrell. So, I'm happy enough to join them and, get that elite status, I guess you could say.
Did you feel any, you went in as a freshman and then, I feel like it's probably still not too much pressure, but once you win as a sophomore, you start to feel that a little bit, I'm sure. Did you feel any pressure at all these last couple of years?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like this year was the most pressure out of any just because, you're on the brink of it. Obviously, the last 3 years I, won a title. And then when you're at that 4th year, it's more nerve wracking, I guess you could say, because, it could slip at any moment. Every wrestling match starts 0-0, but nonetheless, I was still confident. And year after year, I just, still maintained my goal of becoming a 4-time WPIAL champ, and I got it done. So I'm happy with myself.
And now you have the next 3 weeks where you want to get that one piece that you're missing, and that's the state gold. But obviously you want to focus on each tournament, not obviously going too far ahead. But is that what you've been training for all off season, is to get on the top of the podium at Hershey?
Yeah, that's been my goal since before I could even think of, honestly. And obviously I haven't achieved that. I came pretty close. I took second last year, which I didn't end up where I wanted to be, but I got into that state finals match and I was right there. And, and I think that just motivated me throughout the off season and up until now to just, keep pushing it. Obviously I'm not going to overlook anyone or anything like that, but it's definitely been a huge motivating factor falling short to my goal. And I'm honestly haven't been happier, Brock's in my weight again this year and I look forward to hopefully wrestling him again. He's in my region, my super region. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, the fact that you get to wrestle him potentially 3 times, do you feel that as a plus or a minus?
I find it as a plus. I don't like to run away from any type of competition, it's all, in the end, it's all just going to make us both better. And, obviously I've lost to him. I lost to him my freshman year at the region tournament in the semifinals and ride out. And then last year I lost to him in overtime and then ride out again. So I have those close matches with him every single time. And I'm so close, but, I always fall short. And I think that's been a huge motivating factor for me to, really go after it my senior year, my final year to do it. And there's no other person I'd want to have in my way, if that makes sense.
And Ian, you also are not only an individual 4-time WPIAL champion, but you helped guide the Burrell Bucks to 4 straight WPIAL championships. How did it feel to actually get that championship underway? Because, for a long time, we weren't really sure if there was even going to be a WPIAL team tournament. You did have one. You got a big big result in your match against Southmoreland or Burnettstown. I'm sorry. How clutch was it for you to actually have that team tournament actually happen so you could say I'm a 4-time individual and 4-time team champ?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Obviously, being from Burl, like our goals at the beginning of the year as a team are always win that WPIAL title, win that section title, and obviously place top 4 in the state. And my senior year more than others, I've seen the team come together like the most they ever have, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I'm just happy with how the season's been with like COVID and everything. I'm just fortunate enough to be able to be part of that 4th WPIAL championship from my freshman year to my senior year. And that's, something we looked forward to because obviously this season was kind of up in the air. So, I mean, we didn't know if we were going to have that. And I'm just happy we, got to that point and we were there. We got it done. And I'm looking forward to that match against either Brookville or Chestnut. That'll be very exciting. And, we beat Brookville earlier in the year, but we lost to Chestnut by 3. And, I know our guys have been working hard every day and just wanting it even more. And there's no other way I'd want to end my final or one of my final dual meets. It would be against like Chestnut Ridge because, we always have good rivalry with them. They always knock us out of the top 4. So I really want that matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys wrestle them, and especially Brookville, going up to the ultimate duels. And if you look at the team tournament bracket, those 4 teams on the bottom are basically like all teams that would go to the Brookville ultimate duels anyways. Kind of switching gears, last time we talked, I remember before True Power, we talked about how Stanford, that was on the map, and then they dropped their program. You end up committing to Brown. Just talk about that whole process, and, with COVID and everything, it had to be kind of difficult for you to make that college decision.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, like colleges, obviously, there's other kids they're trying to recruit, and I just had to make a decision. I'm really happy with my decision to go to Brown. I know that the coaching staff will get me to where I want to be as a wrestler, and achieve my goals there. And also, AJ is going there, and they've recruited along with a bunch of other good guys. They got a good recruiting class in the past 2 years. And, like the Ivy League didn't wrestle like the season this year, which kind of sucks, which I kind of wanted to see those guys, compete this year. But nonetheless, I'm happy with the decision. And I know I'm really excited to go up to the collegiate level and, start competing there because I honestly find myself, wanting everything a little bit more when I'm kind of like the underdog, like getting a new fresh start almost at like the college level. And I think that'll give me new beginnings, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes
that makes perfect sense because like you said, it's like a new chapter in your life and you kind of look forward to that. Hey, and I think your style translates pretty well in the college. I mean, I just the way you can wrestle on the mat, I think obviously that helps you big time. So, we're just glad that you are able to come and wrestle at True Power, have a good season, wrestle with the team, and then get your 4th WPIAL title. So I know we're excited to see what that next chapter, that new beginning is for you. So we appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Best of luck throughout the rest of the postseason.
See you guys.
Thanks, Ian.
Ian Oswalt of Burl, kind enough to join us. Oh, and there were 3 guys that were going to be potential 4-timers, Jeff, and he was the only one that came through. Trent Schulteis, tough weight class. He had Patrick Cutchember that he lost to in the section championships, then fell short to Shane Kemper of Burgestown. 3 excellent wrestlers in that weight class. And then on the other side, Tyler Simmerman of Derry, just a buzzsaw. Obviously, Kenny Dushek of Blackhawk, he wins his 2nd WPIAL title. We'll get into that in a second. But overall, Ian Oswalt able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing what he's been doing for the last 4 years now, right? And the match with Brock McMillan, I think we do see that the next 3 weeks. I think it could go a variety of different ways. I think we could see it maybe 2-1, maybe I don't know. I don't think they're going to go.
Do you think
3-0.
one guy sweeps?
No, I don't think one guy sweeps. I don't think they're so close. If you go back and watch the regional match last year and then their state final match last year, they're so close that I would find it hard to believe if one or the other sweeps the guy. I could see, it could be one. I could see it going 1-1 going into the state tournament. Is honestly what I think. I don't know who's going to win which one, but I could see it going 1-1 going into the state tournament. So that makes it for a pretty fun third match, right?
Oh, absolutely. That rubber match for the
rubber
state
match,
gold. When you look at the WPIAL championships and looking at each weight class, we're going to go ahead and break down the top 3 qualifiers, and we'll also kind of preview the Southwest Regional Tournament at the same time. So in AA at 106, Cooper Hornack was your champion. He won it decisively over Jack Cazalis of Quaker Valley in the final 3-0. Parker Senapel of Burgestown is your third-place finisher.
Yeah, and this was, I mean, we know how good Cooper Hornack was, and he has not really – I don't think he's really been tested in the WPIAL too much, this season thus far. But looking ahead to the regional tournament, I think he finds himself on a pretty good side of the bracket. He's got Corey Walls from Tyrone in that first round match. He was third at District 6. Likely probably going to see Lucas 5 from Baltimore area in the semifinals, but I see him in the finals here against Landon Bainey from West Branch. I predict Landon Bainey from West Branch to make it to the finals against Cooper Hornack, 2 quality freshmen going at it head-to-head. So this will be a really good test for him outside of the WPIAL.
Talk about 2 quality freshmen. How about 113 pounds? Chris Vargo of Bentworth, your champion. Damon Michaels of Elizabeth Forward, number 2. Colin Bartley of Laurel, who lost to Logan Ritchie in the sections, defeats him for 3rd and 4th to advance to this upcoming weekend. But Michaels and Vargo were super impressive throughout the entire week. And Vargo, I think, just took it up another notch. He was, although the score was a 4-1 win over Michaels, he dominated in that 4-1 win. What an impressive freshman.
Yeah, and he's one of the guys that, and we said this on the Power Hour earlier, Vargo's a guy who we've been hearing about for a long time. He's going through the PJW ranks. He was on our top incoming freshman, so he's been on the radar. Both these wrestlers came in undefeated, right? Michaels was 24-0, I believe, and Vargo was 10-0 coming into this match. And Vargo's he's the real deal, man. I really like him. And he took it to Logan Ritchie. Tech followed him in 3 minutes, so clearly he's on a different level. And I can't wait to see him going up into the regional tournament because you look at the bracket. Obviously, you have the returning state finalist in Callan Bowman from Chestnut Ridge at the top, but Trent Hoover from Penn Cambria is there. Bryce Beatty from Mount Union, he's a senior. I really like this first round matchup with Nathan Pileski from North Star and Chris Vargo. That's probably going to be the one match that I'm really looking forward to because Pileski's a senior and Pileski's knocked off a lot of good guys this year. He did lose in the finals to Bowman in the District 5 tournament, but it was a close match. So Vargo's going to be tested really quickly, and should he win that, I think he likely sees Cohen Bainey from Baltimore area. So if he wants to get to the finals, he's going to have to beat 2 very quality guys to get there.
120 pounds, Nico Farah of Burrell, your champion. Bryce Rodriguez of Carlinton, your number 2. Gavin Suika of Burgestown, number 3.
And Suika, man, he just keeps on, keep on getting in there, squeaking by. I like that, for him. And you look at Rodriguez, he was able to come away with a fall. I thought that was a very good win for him because again, we don't see a ton of Carlinton. We got to see him at the Powerade tournament, but Nico Farah kind of shows, you look at the records and Farah probably had the most losses out of everyone in that bracket, and that's because of Burrell wrestling, all the schedule that Burrell does. But it'll be interesting to see up at the regional tournament at 120 because you have Mason Gibson, right? You have a super freshman who is just absolutely heads and shoulders above the rest of the competition. But I like the Bryce Rodriguez, Trevor Donaldson match from Myersdale, 2 juniors who finished second in their district going at it for a chance to wrestle in the semifinals. I like where Nico Farah is. I think he has a favorable matchup with Marcus Gable from Phillipsburg, Osceola, and then I think he'll probably likely see Hunter Walk. I like Hunter Walk, but he's got a tough match with Husick as well. So I think Farah has a good shot to get into the finals against Mason Gibson, but that's either way. This is Mason Gibson's weight, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. Tough draw for Gavin Suika to have Mason Gibson in that opening round.
Yeah.
126 pounds, Joey Fisher of South Park. He wins his 3rd WPIAL championship. Joey Senapal of Burgestown finishing in second place. Peter Chacon of Montour finishing in third. Fisher and Senapal were set to wrestle potentially 3 times. Senapal did default out of the section finals. He did wrestle him in the subsection final, but Fisher gets it done each time, and now he's going in to the Southwest region as the top seed.
What were your thoughts on that match with Fisher and Senapal? Were you expecting it to be a little closer? I think Fisher really, widened the gap here. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was very impressive. After watching it in the subsection, I thought, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting it to be this, much of a gap. And it, when they wrestled again on Saturday, the gap was about the same. So I think Fisher just really stepped it up. He's looking strong. He's looking confident. I think, having that pressure, that the college pressure off, I think is really helping him a lot. And I think he's just going out there and having fun and, trying to, come away with gold.
And you look at the regional bracket, Joey Fisher sits at the top. He's a Powerade champion. He's 15-0, state runner-up last year. He's on the top half. Probably going to see Cooper Gilliman in the semifinals from Baltimore area. Again, not going to say Camden Coots isn't going to put up a fight, but Easton Toth from Forest Hills, he's on the bottom half with Senapal. I think that's going to be a good match there. Ross Dahl, I like his draw there. I think he has a good path to the finals potentially. But again, Joey Fisher has been kind of that guy, right? You win the Powerade tournament. He's been trending in that direction. I just think he's everything's fallen into place for him. And we've talked to him. We talked to him, I think, when he was a sophomore going in the state tournament. I can't remember, Greg, on the WarUp show. And, I think he's just really matured and really developed so much. And, he's really starting to separate himself. And I think we saw that in the WPIAL finals.
You look at Senapal on the bottom half. You mentioned he's got a great quarterfinal matchup. I think it could go either way. I mean, he could potentially lose that first one, or he could potentially win 2 and get to the finals. I mean, he's got some tough matchups, but he's also got the potential to be in there in the mix.
Yeah, I'm not discounting him for sure. I'm not saying he has, doesn't have a shot, because Easton Toth is a guy who, he's taken some losses this year, but Forest Hills has been at some tough tournaments as well. So, I mean, I would never. I think these are all, you look, other than Darlington from Penns Valley, I think they're all very kind of quality kids. I think you have Gilman and Fisher on a kind of different level. You have Dahl down there and Toth, but I think they're very evenly matched when you really get down to it.
132 pounds, your champion is Jameson Pokliembo of Mount Pleasant. Dion Lyons of Valley, number 2. Kyle McCullum of Best Center, number 3. Not in this weight class, Nick Salerno of Burrell. Head coach Josh Shields mentioned that he's actually was out with an injury, so was unable to compete. They are hopeful that they will be able to have him back for team states at the end of March. So he's got some time to heal up, but disappointing for Salerno, because he likely would have been a WPIAL champion here at 132 pounds. The 2 guys above the finish 1-2 are both in that same section that he resides.
Yeah, and he and Dion Lyons, they were going back and forth, right? I mean, Lyons has been he's kind of a funky wrestler. He's got a lot of raw talent, and I got to see him at the Westmoreland County tournament, and I thought he looked good. 132. The story here is Jackson Arrington in the regions. Jackson Arrington's going to soar through this, but then you kind of look at, all right, who can challenge him? Zach Whitmer from St. Joe's Academy, 3-time state medalist. He's going to Columbia. I expect him to be in the finals, but he got beat up by Arrington this past week. So you look at those other spots, right? Hunter Horton from Tussie Mountain is super tough, but if I don't know, one of these guys from the WPIAL could sneak in there to the top 4. I like Ty Watson from Penns Valley. He's a freshman, but Dion Lyons can get hot. Maybe he beats Kobe Burkett from Chestnut Ridge, makes it to the semifinals, and then he's set up in a position where he gets the loser on that bottom half. He could get hot, and Poklembo, I think, losing that early round match to Whitmer, he doesn't have any. I'd rather be Dion Lyons' spot than Poklembo spot. Let me just put it that way, Greg, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And those 2, Lions beat him in the section tournament. Pokliembo beats him in the WPIAL final. So they're pretty evenly matched. And 2 guys that we'll see if they can get into that top 5 to advance to next week. I mean, both guys definitely have the opportunity. 138 pounds, Ian Oswalt of Burrow, we just mentioned. He wins his 4th WPIAL championship. He defeats Ryan Harbert of Ligonier Valley. Ligonier Valley in the WPIAL for the first time this year, and Harbert, the only wrestler from Ligonier Valley in the tournament, gets to the final. Tyler Debnar, a best center, your 3rd-place finisher.
And like we said earlier, Greg, I mean, I truly believe that we're going to see a Ian Oswalt, Brock McMillan finals in the region, super region, and state tournament. I just think that's probably, likely going to happen. And Brock McMillan, he had a tough match with Eamon Ole from St. Joe's Academy, who's also a state medalist. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup a little bit. He's been injured. Ian Oswalt's going to have Austin Foster from Phillipsburg Osceola, who's not bad, but I expect Ian to get into the semifinals and make it to the finals and have a date there with Brock McMillan. I think Brock McMillan's clearly on the good side of the bracket. I think he's clearly going to make it to the finals, but we're going to probably see this 3 times. I'm very curious to see who takes this first one because, they're different wrestlers. Ian's got 18 matches under him. Brock McMillan has 13, but, Ian's been probably in a lot more higher caliber matches this year. But Brock's kind of been his kryptonite a little bit, right? So, and I'm sure Ian's really hungry to get this match, but I would almost look at it like, hey, this is a marathon, not a sprint, because you're going to have him probably 3 times. Let's not win the regional tournament's good, but let's win that state title.
That's right. 145 pounds, Kenny Dushek of Blackhawk wins his 2nd WPIAL championship and stops Tyler Simmerman of Derry from winning his 4th. A 5-2 win for Dushek. Tyler Barish of Best Center, your 3rd-place finisher. And could we see Dushek and Simmerman again?
I definitely think we can. I mean, you look at the way the bracket, everything's aligned. It's certainly possible. I think Ty Simmerman makes it to the semifinals. I think he beats Ethan Heminger from Somerset. And I think Cooper Warshaw is going to be down there on the bottom half coming out. But I think Simmerman can, I think that's obviously a winnable match for him. He's a 2-time state medalist. I think he's going to do just fine. Dushek, though, I think he's wrestling lights out right now. I mean, to beat Simmerman, who's very solid. We saw him at Powerade. He split matches with John Altieri from Norwin. I thought he wrestled Wyatt Henson really tough in the Powerade tournament. So
probably Henson's toughest match all year.
Yeah, it might have been Henson's toughest match all year. I agree with you. So if he's able to kind of harness that and wrestle like he did this past weekend, I think he's clearly the favorite here. But we certainly could see Simmerman and Dushek, another weekend or maybe 2 weekends in a row.
152 pounds, Grant McKay of Laurel, your champion. Justin Ritchie of Quaker Valley, number 2. DJ Slovic of Burgettstown gets revenge on Damian Barr of Burrell for the 3rd-place finish.
Yeah, and that was a battle for that 3rd place, right? DJ Slovak and they've been going back and forth with Damian Barr, and
they were aggressive on each other for sure.
I bet they were. Damian Barr's, we saw him in the WPIAL team tournament have such a huge win, and you look at the, I don't know, not the baggage there, but there's some history, right, between those two, and I'm sure that was probably a war. But man, look at Grant McKay. Last year at North Allegheny, now being at Laurel, he's completely just wrestled very, very well this season. Has a win over Ty Linsenbegler. Has battled with Eric Gibson, and he's number 1 in the state. And you look at the regional bracket, I think he's in a good spot. He's got on his side, he's got Gavin Stewart from Marion Center, Connor Yoder from North Star as a freshman, Zeke Dubler from Glendale. I like that top half for him to come out through. On the bottom half, though, it's a little bit more dicey. You got Hudson Holbay from Westmont Hilltop, who I think is going to be a threat to get in there. I think he beats Ritchie and gets to the semifinals. But Luke Moore, also a guy who, I think him and Holbay could be a good match. But I wouldn't put DJ Slovic to get, I think he could give Luke Moore a pretty good match too. So at the end of the day, I think Grant McKay is the guy to watch here. But it'd be interesting to see who are the other qualifiers that come out.
160 pounds, AJ Corrado of Burrell wins his 2nd WPIAL title. He defeats Oleg Melnick of Carlington for the championship. Trevor Pettit of Best Center, your 3rd-place finisher.
Yeah, and you look at AJ. Obviously, AJ's doing what we expect him to. He gets 2 falls into the regional tournament. Wins. How many titles was that for AJ, Greg?
That was his second WPIAL
That
title.
was his second. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around 2 or 3. So you look at the bracket up at the Southwest Regional. He's got a freshman, Andrew McMonigal from Central in the first round, who McMonigal is not a guy I'm going to look past even for a freshman. I think he probably sees Hunter Weirtosh from Phillipsburg Osceola in the semifinals. He's a state medalist last year. He finished 8th in the state. So there's 3 state medalists here with Corrado, Weirtosh, and Ryan Wyant from Forest Hills. I expect Ryan Wyant to make it into the finals, but I'm not looking past Austin Broadwater either from Myersdale. But AJ Corrado, kind of like Ian Oswalt, he's been on that same trajectory, but unlike Ian, he doesn't have that same person week in and week out. It's kind of his weight, if you will.
No doubt about it. 172 pounds, Rune Lawrence of Fraser. He wins over Ethan Barr of McGuffey for the title. He wrestled Ethan Barr 3 separate times total throughout the week. I know it's not Nibus because we asked the Mount Pleasant fans. Ganebus, I believe. Ganebus is what they told us. Noah Ganebus finishes in 3rd place at 172.
You were just so glad to get that over with. You're like, you know what? And normally it's me here's
the thing. I'm gonna have to say his name probably at least a couple more weeks. So I need to get it right. You know what I mean? So that's why when we talked to the Mount Pleasant folks, they said they corrected it. So Ganebus, I just need to make sure it's on point.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we get that rolling for next time, because I don't want to be having to correct you all the time. Ethan Barr.
You didn't correct me at all. Actually, I corrected myself. Thank you.
Right. Okay, whatever. Ethan Barr, state qualifier last year, very, very tough. Rune Lawrence kind of made it look pretty easy, right? And that's scary. It's scary because Rune Lawrence is just getting better as the year goes on, which does not bode well for anyone else in the bracket. So let's go look at the Southwest Regional bracket here at 172 pounds. Malachi Duval, returning 2-time state medalist, was 3rd in state last year. He's going to Navy. Super talented kid. We saw him at True Power. He wrestled the day of. We called him in the morning. He was like, hey, yeah, I'll wrestle Luke Augustine. Wrestles. Love Malachi Duval. He's going to have Noah Ganebus in the first round. You see there?
Look at you struggling with it, too.
I didn't struggle. I said it perfectly fine. He's going to have him in the first round. Tough matchup. Ethan Barr, I think he probably makes it to the semifinals. Rune Lawrence has Suds Dubler from Glendale, who's a junior. I think Rune, if he wrestles like he has been, I think that's no problem for him. Hunter Holbay from Westmont Hilltop, again, not a bad wrestler there. Daniel Moore from Chestnut Ridge. Those guys don't go over very easily, but I'm really looking forward to a Malachi Duval Rune Lawrence match. I think it happens, and I think that one's going to be a dynamite match. So I'm looking forward to it and seeing if Rune can continue this reign of terror that he's on.
Well, I'm super excited for this final, Duval and Lawrence. I think it does happen, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think 172 overall, though, in AA may be one of the deeper Southwest Regional weight classes.
Yeah, I think that in 189. I think you look at 189, which we're going to go to next, but with Kutchember, Schulteis, and Kemper all from District 7, then you throw in, a bunch of other names such as, Miles Bainey, Ian Eckenrode. I think it gets even more deep. So, yeah, I'd say 172 is deep, but so is 189.
Yeah, very true. 189, the deepest as far as the top. You couldn't get a better top 3 at 100 or at any weight class in the WPIAL than 189 pounds. Patrick Kutchember, and he looks super impressive, right? He knocks off Trent Schulteis in the section championship, and then he honestly controlled the entire match, a 6-0 win over Shane Kemper of Burgestown in the final. Kemper beats Trent Schulteis of Freedom in the semifinals 4-2, but you can't get a much better top 3. Kutchember 1, Kemper 2, Schulteis 3, and boy, it should be fun to see how they all finish here in the Southwest region.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see because, like we said, you add in the other top names here, like Miles Bainey and Ian Eckenrode. Ian Eckenrode from Cambria Heights is a senior, undefeated. He's going to have Trent Schulteis right out of the gate. Trent Schulteis is a 3-time state medalist, was just going for his 4th WPIAL title. He's going to Pitt. He was a state runner-up. He's a really good wrestler, but yet he finished 3rd out of this the WPIAL tournament. I think Kutchember, I think he gets to the finals. I think you'll probably see Miles Bainey in the semifinals, but I think he gets through there. I really think the battle is going to be between that bottom four: Ashton Dahl from Bedford, Shane Kemper, Trent Schulteis, and Ian Eckenrode. I really could see all four, either one of those four coming out, but I probably lean towards Kemper or Schulteis. I think that could be the guys that make it to the final. There's not much of a deeper weight class than 189, Greg, in the Southwest region.
Yeah, very true. 215 pounds, Dayton Pitzer of Mount Pleasant wrestles 1 minute and 10 seconds total in the WPIAL championships. He looks impressive as ever. He wins his second WPIAL championship. Eli Reese of Knock finishes in second. Colin Milko of Carlinton in third place.
So Eli Reese dropping from 285 to 215 was a little bit surprising because he probably had to cut to get down to 215. Would you agree, Greg?
Yeah, he was a big 215 pounder for sure.
And I was kind of looking forward to seeing, okay, well, because Nick Feldman, 215 is a much bigger, wrestler than Dayton Pitzer, but Pitzer pins him in 30 seconds. So yeah, Pitzer didn't even wrestle a full period really, in either one of his matches, but he's probably, looking at the next week and saying, hey, I got to get ready. I got to get ready for some tough matches. And he is right out of the gate. He's got Parker Moore from Phillipsburg, Osceola. State medalist last year, was 6th in the state last year. So you got a guy who's a state champion 2 years ago, doesn't wrestle last year. Parker Moore is a state medalist last year. That's a tough matchup, but I think Pitzer, easily gets into the finals here. I think you'll probably see Ethan Yingling in the semifinals. On the bottom half, though, a little bit more wide open because there's this guy named Briar DeLine from Huntington who I had no idea who he was, but he came in and stormed through and won a District 6 title. So Eli, there's no real tape on him. I'm not really sure what to say about him, but Eric Knopsner informs me that he's up from 160. He was 160 last year. Now he's up at 215. So,
wow.
That's a huge jump. Now, Eli Reese, the guy he has, is a heavyweight coming down to 215. So I think you got to keep an eye on that match at 215 pounds. Colin Milko from Carlinton, favorable matchup with Brady Berbichuk from Berlin. He's tough, but I think this is Pitzer and then who else, right? It's Pitzer and then who else is going to fight in to get out of there.
285 pounds, Mitch Miles of Laurel wins his second WPIAL title. He finishes in first place over Ian Fasano of Mount Pleasant and Nicholas Murphy of Elizabeth Forward in third place.
So how I said 89 was deep in the Southwest region? Let's take a look at 285 because look at all the talent we have here. We have number one in the state, Jalen Stevens from Myersdale. Guy's a stud, right? We know that. He's going to Columbia, 2-time state medalist. He's the real deal. Nick Murphy, not bad, right? But then you throw in Mitch Miles and Marvin Beatty from Marion Center. Those two on the bottom half, they're all ranked top 5 in the state. And then you throw in Matt Watkins from Tussey Mountain, who lost to Stevens 1-0 in the District 5 tournament. He's number 8 in the state. So you've got 4 guys here all in the top 10 in the state battling for 5 spots. This is going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. I think Fasano has a good draw here against Ben Scherer from Penns Valley. I think Fasano can make the semis. And he's got 10 losses, but those are 10 good losses that he has. Mount Pleasant has wrestled a really tough schedule this year, so I'm not worried about his 10 losses that he has. I think he makes it to semifinals, and I think, that bottom half is somewhere I do not want to be whatsoever with Beatty, Watkins, and Miles. I'd much rather make it to semis, lose to Stevens, and then wrestle in to make the top 5. So 285 is just stacked here in the Southwest region.
Yeah, the upper weight classes in this one seem to be a lot more deep as far as that goes, on the AA Southwest region. So overall for AA and WPIAL, as far as the 3 sections go, as far as qualifiers, pretty even. Section 1 with 13, Section 2 with 12, Section 3 with 14. Burgettstown has the most qualifiers going on with 5. The next is Burrell and Mount Pleasant. They both have 4. But Burrell's 4 are 4 champions. So something to keep in mind. It doesn't happen very often to see that many champs in the WPIAL championships, especially with only 13 weight classes. Mount Pleasant with 4 going on, they had 2 champs. Laurel and Carlinton and Quaker Valley all with 3. Laurel had 2 champions as well. So that's pretty much what happened this past week with AA. And before we switch gears to go over to AAA, let's first hear from Nick Fuller of Tactical Mind.
This is the Tactical Mind, and I work with athletes in the field of sports psychology as a cognitive performance coach. Within 5 minutes of talking to a parent, they make the connection right away that this would be great for my kid to have when they're in college, when they're just going through the ups and downs of high school. Who wouldn't benefit from having more self-awareness? Who wouldn't benefit from having the ability to self-regulate our emotions and our counterproductive thoughts? Who wouldn't benefit from having more optimism, not just on the field, but in life?
Make sure you take a look at, again, Nick Fuller. We have a special promo code for you. Make sure you use the promo code POWER to receive 50% off your initial consultation. Again, promo code POWER, POWER, and you'll receive 50% off your initial consultation. So now let's switch gears a little bit to AAA. And in AAA, they got through their subsection as well as the section action from this past week, and now they're getting set for the WPIAL championships, where they're going to have the field cut from 8 down to 4, right, Jeff?
Yeah. So
Top
yeah,
4.
it's gonna be hard to get through, and there's already a ton of wrestlers who are not gonna make it to the next round. One of those guys is returning state medalist Antonio Emilio from Seneca Valley. He's in a section with Colin McCorkle, who transferred from Arizona at North Allegheny, and Cole Spencer from Pine Richland. So, and a guy like Hunter Swedish. Hunter Swedish has been wrestling so well this year, and he's not making it out of the section. You got Nick Jones there and Dylan Coy. So, it's a shame, but that's kind of what we've been seeing. And we expected that. We expected that these guys, were going to be in a position that, they're really going to have to battle for those top 2 spots. So they took 2 from each section. They did wrestle some true second matches to determine that true second match. And you'll have a total of 8 wrestlers, and only 3 make it out to the super region. So only 3 out of the 8 that are pretty stacked in some weights. I mean, there's going to be a lot of kids done wrestling after this weekend, which a lot of good kids that are not wrestling after this weekend. So it's going to be very, very tough, but it's going to be a fun battle, I think.
Well, let's look ahead at these sections and just kind of recap some of the highlights here. In Section 1, just a couple of notes. 106 pounds, Antonio Walker of Plum. He does drop, and he finishes in first place. He was impressive.
Yeah, so I've been really high on Nino Walker from Plum. He's been very, very good this whole year. He's 20-0. His only loss this year is to Tyler Chappell of Seneca Valley. That was a tight match, too. So I think, we could potentially see him battling his way into a WPIAL final potentially. And, I was talking with some of the guys over Westmoreland Sports. I said, we don't get to see a whole lot of Plum, so it's hard to say, where he's at. But I really do expect him to be in the mix there with the rest of the 106-pounders. Because, look, Tyler Chappell's there. They wrestled a tight match before. I think you probably see something like that again. He lost to him 2-1 in that last match. So, yeah, Nino Walker's wrestling really tough right now.
And the other note from Section 1 I had was at 189 pounds, Braden Roskoski defeats Justin Hart in the subsection championships, but Hart turns it around, avenges that loss, and he beats Roskoski in the section final 4-2.
Yeah, and that 189-pound bracket, is these guys have all beaten each other. Liam Volk-Klaas has beaten some of them. Cooper Baxter's beaten him. You have all these guys, and Roskoski beats Hart, then loses to Hart. I can't make heads or tails with these guys. It's like there's no clear front runner here, so it's hard to rank. But yeah, that was one note I had as well, is this continuing saga of the 189-pound bracket and who's going to come out of there, because remember, only 3 make it out, so they're going to have to really fight for those 3 spots.
In Section 2, Brad Priest, beats Nate Roth twice, this time 3-1 to win the section championship at 132.
I hope that's not all you had for Section 2, because, oh my gosh, boy.
No, I'm getting there, man.
There was a whole heck of a lot of good results there from Section 2. But don't worry, there was other sections that competed as well. I was impressed with him at 132 pounds. Ethan Lieben, I thought, wrestled really well against Shadow Zeiss, 3-2, kind of in some funky positions there to get that win. And Ethan Bergnick wrestled so strong against Mason Prinky. Prinky is no joke. He's a state medalist. He's a senior. Ethan Bergnick just really took it to him. So, I think we're primed for a Carter Dyber, Ethan Bergnick match, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks in a row after this. I don't know, depending on if we have the WPIAL Super Region and the state finals, I think it could happen.
Yeah, the next big note I have is a 145. John Altieri of Norwin, who had lost to Ty Linsenbigler in the subsection, turns it around. Not only beats him, but major decisions. Ty Linsenbigler 10-1, and those are the two guys advancing. That means Cale Bakaizo of Thomas Jefferson does not advance to this weekend's action.
Yeah, Cale Bakaizo is a guy who was ranked top 20 in the state coming into here. It's hard to see a guy like a senior like him just journeyman. He's been wrestling for 4 years, a 3-time regional qualifier prior to this year. But let's talk about that finals match. So Linsenbigler and Altieri, they were wrestling hard. They were wrestling a lot of good, positions and sequences. But Linsenbigler got in a position where he tried to throw Altieri twice. Twice it happened. And Altieri was just able to step on him and kind of sit on him. And the second time it happened, he got swiped. So he hit him for a 5-pointer. And then things just kind of, went downhill there. So, I mean, the score, yes, it was a major, but, these guys did wrestle a pretty, a back and forth match until that point. And, Linsenbigler's just got to be smarter with how he wrestles. Altieri is a guy who's going to make you punish. He's going to punish you. He's so much fun to watch. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing this potentially again next week.
152 pounds, Jared Kessler dominates, winning the title. Michael Zakar, meanwhile, he grabs the number 2 spot by pinning Jack Pletcher of Latrobe. So Pletcher does not move on.
Yeah, so that was tough for Jack. He loses to Zakar and or Zacher. I'm sorry, I got pronunciations on that. Zacher. So we gotta fix that one up now too, Greg. Yeah, Pletcher had he's had a tough year. He's took some losses that you're like I'm not sure about that one. And Kessler on the other hand has been wrestling very physical. I mean, he comes out, gets a tech fall over Nolan Dare, and then he gets the fall in the finals against Zacher. But Pletcher, hey, he's got another year, right? So he's got another chance to come back. I will note that Chase Krantz from Norwin at 160 didn't even have to wrestle a match to win a section title. That's kind of interesting because West Mifflin, did you hear about this, Greg, with West Mifflin?
I didn't. No.
Okay, so West Mifflin shows up Saturday morning. They weigh in. Okay, their kids, I think they have 5 kids there in the section tournament, 5 or 6. They they weigh in, and all of a sudden their coach gets a call from their AD or the principal, one or the other, and says, hey, we're shut down athletics. You're not allowed to wrestle. They have to turn around and go home. Their seasons are over. Salopek's son, senior wrestling, career over, just like that. Apparently, you had to do something with maybe a basketball game. There's some things going on that I'm not, I don't want to say necessarily on the air, but there's something going on there where it wasn't right. The way it was brought to them was not right. And unfortunately, West Mifflin showed up, weighed in, and then had to go home. That's a pretty terrible way to end your career.
I don't know the situation, but why not have them at least wrestle that day? And then, if you're going to shut it down, you could revisit. You have a full week to work it out. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not a good situation, and I wasn't able to really talk to anybody about it because they had all left already. But yeah, that was kind of the buzz in the morning because it was like, ooh, because that took a lot. They had to redraw all the brackets. That's why a lot of guys got buys into the finals and things like that. So yeah, just wanted to make sure we noted that. So I feel bad for all those kids, especially Salopek, who we've seen for several years now, being a senior, and I think he's a 3-time regional qualifier. This would have been his 4th.
Yeah.
And I think he was a top seed, or not. He was on the top half.
Right.
So. Anyhow, 285, we saw a reversal of fortunes there for Billy McChesney from Greensburg-Salem. He beats Isaiah Vance. Interesting match because there was a penalty point for an illegal headlock. Isaiah Vance had a headlock, but he kind of slipped the arm, so he had a headlock without the arm. Ends up giving up a point. It was enough for McChesney to get the win, and I think that's probably his first win over Vance in his career. Guys are both ranked 2 and 3 in the state. So we saw Linsenbigler 2 and 3 against Altieri. That's number 2 and number 3 in the state. 3 beat 2, and then same here at heavyweight. McChesney 3 in the state. Isaiah Vance 2, 3 beats 2. So very interesting between those two.
And that's a match we may see a couple more times here before we get to the state tournament with McChesney and Vance. So When you look at the Section 3 tournament, some notes: Dylan Coy at 120 pounds. You already stole the thunder a little bit. Beats Hunter Swedish by major decision, and then he beats Nick Jones 11-5 for the title. So what a performance by Dylan Coy. He was super impressive. And then Nick Jones turns around and eliminates Hunter Swedish with a 1-0 win.
Yeah, I mean, you just feel bad for Hunter Swedish. He lost like half his front teeth this year. Like he's just been a journeyman for these guys, man. Like he reminds me a little bit of Jason Geyer from Seneca Valley. Like never made it to the state tournament. Kind of just always in there grinding. And I feel bad for Swedish, but he knew what he had to do, right? I mean, this is a 1-0 against a freshman. You're a senior against a freshman. I can remember, my coach in high school saying, you're a senior. You never should lose to a freshman or a sophomore. You've been there. Hey, it's a different game now. So I feel bad for Swedish, but that was a tough weight class, and we're going to see it again here when we talk about 160 because his teammate Antonio Emilio was also season ended short.
Yeah, Cole Spencer wins the title at 160. Colin McCorkle is the guy who ends it for Antonio Emilio with an 8-3 win. So McCorkle gets that second spot.
Yeah, and obviously McCorkle, we don't know a lot about him other than the fact he's from Arizona. He was a state runner up there, and I've seen him at Super 32, and he's been wrestling well. He took AJ Corrado to tiebreaker earlier in this year, and obviously being in that weight class at 160. I mean, Emilio, it's again, he's going to Bucknell. He was a state medalist last year. You hate to see it, but very tough weight class. And before we move on any further, Greg, I wanted to touch on 145. Kellen Laffey from Pine Richland bumps up from 138 to 145, and he beats Max Stedford from North Allegheny in final 7-2, who I thought Stedford looked like a huge 145-pounder when he was wrestling early this year. So, Kellen Laffey, I wonder, because Pine Richland had a long layoff. I wonder if the weight was becoming an issue potentially, or maybe he just thought he had a better chance at 145. But it looks like he hasn't missed a beat since moving up.
Yeah, the other note I had for Section 3, 189, Cooper Baxter. Butler beats Liam Vauclaws, Seneca Valley 4-2 for the title.
How about, you look at 172, Kevin Brubach from Mars, senior, a guy who wrestled, I think he took 2 years off since he has been wrestling last time. I can remember him, when he was maybe a freshman or sophomore, but he took a couple years off. He comes out and wins 172-pound weight that Stephen Green's at from Butler, who bumps up from 160 to 72. Stipetich, who's a freshman from NA, he makes the finals. Brubach beats him after beating Manuel Santos from Seneca Valley, who I've been high on all year. So Brubach, I mean, he's coming in, and hey, could he challenge Finnerty or Furman or those guys for that one of those spots? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him.
Moving on to Section 4, I think the biggest note out of Section 4 is Waynesburg. They bring 12 guys into the tournament. Only one wrestler not able to advance out of the subsection, and that was one of the deepest subsection brackets I've seen at 215 pounds. All 4 wrestlers were just absolute solid wrestlers. But Waynesburg brings 12 kids, and they win 12 section championships. That's just remarkable in and of itself.
It's incredible. And it's impressive for a lot of different reasons. You start off at 106, Kai Sheftik from Waynesburg. He's a freshman against Andrew Binney. He gets revenges I lost to him from earlier. He wins 2-1 in tiebreaker 2. That kind of got the momentum rolling for them, and they didn't look back, right? And Noah Tustin, as you mentioned, is the only wrestler from Waynesburg not here. He was in a wild subsection with Rohaley, Banco, Sarasnik. I mean, just an absolute weird round robin. In fact, every single person in that bracket had a loss from that 215 round robin. So I forget how they did it, but I'm sure it was a point differential system. But
no, it was Rohaley and Banco that each had 2 wins. Tustin and Sarasnik each had 1. So that's how Rohaley and Banco advanced.
Even though they each had a loss. Okay, that makes sense.
Correct.
So you look at, and the last time this has happened, and this is from Ken Stats Wonderly, North Allegheny in 1988. They went 11 for 12 with champions in the section tournament. Now, I believe that was Ty Moore's junior year. I can't remember exactly when that was, but that was in their heyday, right? That was in the heyday of NA. So you're talking about some serious horsepower here with Waynesburg. It started out 106 and just continued all the way through. Joe Simone gets his championship. Mac Church, again, Jacob Haupt. We've seen him wrestle him a number of times this year and last year. Xander Fatoris, he turned the script on Blake Reiner from Trinity. Those two have been going back and forth. I think this is the fourth time they've wrestled, and I think it may be 2-2 now. I'm not sure exactly on the records, but
that is correct. 2-2, and Reiner beat him in the subsection.
In the subsection, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. So a lot of these things, could have went either way. Sheptick at 106, Fatoris at 126. Those aren't locks by any stretch of the imagination. I would say even Costa Moore at 126 or 132, and Colin Stone King, not a lock for Stone King. Costa Moore is a guy.
I'll say this though.
Stone
King dominated him in both matches. He pinned him in the subsection, and then he wins 4-0 in the section championship. And honestly, he controlled both matches.
See, and that's why I like to have an insider opinion on that, because not seeing the match, it's hard to say whether that was a 4-0 close match, was it a late takedown, or was it it was a dominating 4-0 win. Let's also talk about 138, where Cole Hammett avenges a loss to Dylan Evans from the subsection. Now the subsection, what was that final? 9-3 or something? It was something pretty. Yeah. It was significant, right? Cole Hammett, senior Powerade champion, junior, two-time state medalist. Won at True Power, beat Ian Oswalt, wrestling really high, then loses to Dylan Evans, returning state medalist, but comes back and beats him in the Section 4 tournament. So again, if you would have told me Waynesburg goes 12 for 12, I'm like, nah, there's no way. There's too many ifs. Sheptick, you've got, Fatoris, and now Hammett. I'm not sure if they're going to go for it. But the stars were aligned for Waynesburg, because those were some tight matches. Cole Hammett beats Dylan Evans. I think we could see that. We should see that again next week. But Finn Solomon, depending on where they seed the brackets, I think we could see a Finn Solomon, Cole Hammett semifinals, depending on where they put him in the bracket. I don't know.
One other note out of Section 4, just want to mention, just because of the levels of talent. 26 qualifiers out of Section 4, 24 of which were out of subsection 4A. 4B had a total of 2 qualifiers come out of the subsection.
I don't know. I've read some articles about how geographically they did the subsections. It's absolutely atrocious what 4B is. I mean, it's just. I mean, I was talking to some coaches from 4A. Maybe one of the teams from 4A who's doesn't have the best team, and saying, hey, we get screwed. We're getting screwed by being in this with all these hammers. And I think that just shows how the skewed it is between 4A and 4B. Obviously Mount Lebanon not having a really good year with having numbers down, but also with COVID and everything. So it's tough. I mean, the 4 from subsection 4A at 215, all of them were way ahead of section 4B. So it's just unfortunate that these guys didn't have a chance to wrestle them. But again, we knew the rules before we came into this, so you have to know that going into it.
Yeah, it was just interesting because, in covering the subsection 4A tournament and then covering the section 4 tournament, it was basically doing the same tournament twice, because 4B was just that much worse on Saturday. It was really just it was pretty crazy. And I understand the geographic. I actually don't, because Chartiers Valley should be in with 4A or 4B.
Absolutely,
they're closer
they should.
They're closer with Mount Lebanon and Bethel Park than Peters Township would be, but
yes.
That doesn't make much sense to me. But I would think if you're going to look at the talent pool and look at all of Section 4, you put Canamac and Trinity in 4B, and then you put 2 other teams in 4A with Waynesburg, and that evens things out pretty well right there.
But like you said, geographically, come on. I mean, look at a map. It's like it's not that hard to figure out where Char Valley should be, as opposed, why in the heck is Char, or why are they there? I don't.
Why is Peters Township in 4? Yeah, it's hard to say.
Kind of fishy, right? I'm not saying conspiracy, but something's gonna miss, right? So, that it was a heck of a section tournament, and Greg, I have a feeling. I mean, if they want me to seed this tournament, I can seed it for them if they want it.
Well, let's look at who we look at. We have 8 guys going in each weight class. Top four. Let's go weight by weight. Start at 106 pounds. Who are your top 4, Jeff? If you were seeding it for here for
absolutely.
Saturday.
I mean, I should be seeding it. There's no one else out there that should. There's no one else qualified like myself to seed this tournament. But who am I? Tyler Chappell, number 1, right? I think he's the number 1 guy here. 23-2 on the season. Or 26-2. He's up there, right? Has a win over Antonio Walker from Plum. I think Walker is 2. I think Walker is 2, and I think Kai Sheptick is 3, and I think Benny is 4. Layton is a section champ, but Benny has a win over him, so I'm putting those 4. I'm putting Chappell, Walker, Sheptick, Benny, boom, boom, right there. That's easy. If they don't have it there, they definitely need to consult me.
If Benny would have won the section, would you have potentially put him 2, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I definitely think he's in consideration for 2 had he won it. But I think Walker has earned it based on pinning Kapusta a couple times, and I just think I think he could make a very strong argument to be number 2 even without Benny losing in the finals. But yeah, I think 106 is pretty clear in my mind, but so is 113. Vinny Kilkeary, obvious number 1. Troy Homan, obvious number 2. Vinny Kilkeary has a win over Homan. Homan has a win over Simone. And then Ferrero from Pine Richland has been kind of the best of the rest of those 3. So I think that's an easy Kilkeary, Homan, Simone, and Ferrero. I think that's, again, just as easy as 106.
What about 120?
So 120, I'm going to go Mac Church, Dylan Coy. That's a no-brainer. So Mac Church, clearly, state medalist. Dylan Coy, state qualifier. Those 2 are kind of, head and shoulders above the rest of the competition, in my opinion. Mac Church and Dylan Coy wrestled this year. Church has a win over him. Halpt, I think, is 3. I really do, even though he's a runner-up. Look who's a runner-up too. I think he is in there at number 3, and I think Ethan Lieben is number 4. So I think it's Church, Coy, Halpt, and Lieben all day, every day. I don't see how you can go any different than that.
Would you consider Lieben over Halpt?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, but I think you look at body of work and results, I think Halpt has been, especially last year, you look at what Halpt was able to do. I definitely think he was he's a guy who was close to being a state qualifier, has a win over Vinny Kilkeary last year at the Powerade tournament, finished 7th. I like Halpt. I think he's the guy. He's a junior. He has a lot of good wind under his belt. I think he's a 3 seed here.
126 pounds.
All right, this is going to come out as a shock, but Carter Divert, number 1 seed. Ethan Burdick, number 2. I go Mason Prinky 3. Mason Prinky is a 2-time state qualifier, 1-time state medalist. Yes, he lost to Ethan Burdick, and yes, it was pretty. I thought Burdick wrestled really well. Divert and Burdick are on a different level. Prinky has to be the 3, in my opinion. And then I think Fatoris is your 4. Again, I don't see how you can make an argument for anyone else being in those top 4. I don't see how you can put Fatoris above Prinky, and I don't see how you can put anyone else in that top 4 like Citrano or Gorman from North Allegheny. So I think it's Divert, Burdick, Prinky, and Fatoris all day.
Not that we're going to 5, but would you put Reiner and Fatoris again wrestling for a 5th time, or would you put Citrano in there at 5 and Reiner at 6?
I would put Reiner in at 5, Citrano at 6. That's absolutely how I'd put it.
What about 132 pounds?
So 132, again, going to shock you here, but I'm going Dylan Chappell, 2-time state runner-up as your 1. I'm going Colton Stone King as 2, Briar Priest as 3. Now 4 gets a little murky, okay? 4, I'm going to go with Roth, but, Costamore is there. Now Roth has a win over Moore, okay? So you can't really make an argument there to say Costamore should be above Roth because Roth has a win over him. I think you can look in and, Nathan Monapart from NA, I really don't see anybody else being in those top 4. Jesse Gallardo from West Mifflin was being considered in there, but, he doesn't even get a shot to wrestle. Kyvon Grace from Moon, he had some good wins this year, but I really don't see it any different than Chappell, Stone King. I don't think you put Priest above Stone King. I think it's Chappell, Stone King, Priest, and Roth. And I don't know how you make an argument for Moore, considering he hasn't had a whole lot of wrestling this year, and also Roth has a win against him head-to-head.
I mean, 4-5 doesn't really make a difference, obviously. So, if, at the end of the day, if it's probably going to be, more 5 at that point.
Yeah. So another easy weight is 138. In my opinion, this is very easy. Finn Solomon, Cole Hammett, Dylan Evans, Lucas Capusta. There's no other way to put it. I mean, there's no other way to dice it and slice it. Solomon, obviously I don't care if he was never made it to the state tournament last year, and Cole Hammett did. He's, body of work. Look what he's done. His only loss is to Wyatt Henson. That's not, anything to hang your hat on. Cole Hammett, Dylan Evans, those could have been 2 or 3 depending on what happened in the section tournament. And then Lucas Capusta has been very solid. He's a section champ. He's in there at number 4.
So you don't separate Hammett and Evans? You have them go at it in the semifinals?
Absolutely not. Have them go at it in the semifinals. Why not? I mean, I don't see why you don't. Those two are going back and forth.
If Evans doesn't beat Hammett in that subsection, do you put Hammett 1, or you still have Solomon 1?
So say that again.
If Hammett had beaten Evans twice this past week, as opposed to losing to him once, would you put Hammett 1, or still have Solomon 1?
I still have Solomon 1. Yeah, I still have Solomon 1 for that at 138.
145 pounds, Wyatt Henson at the top. Where do you go from here?
Man, you stole my thunder. Yeah, Wyatt Henson number 1. John Altieri, obviously, you can't go anywhere else from this. John Altieri has to be number 2. He has that win over Ty Linsenberger. Ty Linsenberger has to be 3. You have to have Henson, Altieri, and Linsenberger all 1, 2, 3. There is no other way to put it. Kellen Laffey is number 4. There's no doubt about it. So, again, I mean, call me up, WPIAL, because there's no other way to put some of these weights. Henson, is a returning state champion. Altieri has a recent win, a major decision over Ty Linsenberger. Linsenberger, yes, a section runner-up. He's a 2-time state medalist, 3-time qualifier. Kellen Laffey, Jr., wrestled good, but Max Stediford is in that 5th spot. So clearly, Laffey is in there 4. So Henson, Altieri, Linsenberger, and Laffey, again, no brainer.
That was gonna be my next question. Do you kind of throw in Bodie Morgan, or is Stediford the guy at 5?
I look at it and say Stediford is that guy at 5. Bodie Morgan has, he had a loss to Cody Kaufman from Greensburg-Salem. I even think Mario Sarnik from Franklin Regional is probably more of like your 6th. I think Mario Sarnik is really underrated just because he was out all of last year. I think he could make an argument to be maybe in that 5th, 6th spot there, but I don't see how you don't put it Henson, Altieri, Linsenberger, Laffey, and then probably go Stediford, Sarnik, somewhere in there, and then maybe Morgan. I mean, that's just my opinion.
152 seems pretty easy to get your top 4 here.
Yeah, so again, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. You got AHRs, they're number 1, Rocco Welsh 2, Jarrett Kessler 3, Garrett Thompson 4.
Yep.
Show me
Couldn't
a different
get much
way
easier
to put
there.
It. Yeah, that's I mean, even you could have seeded that, Greg, I think.
Wow. Wow. Who do you put as 5? You put Martini, or do you put
I put Martini. I put Martini at 5. Yep.
I was about to say Zakar again, but that's not right. So
Yeah. Sorry.
What'd you say it is?
Zacher. Yeah, Zacher.
Thank you for that pronunciation, Zacher. So you have Zacher at 6 then at that point.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
160 pounds.
All right, Cole Spencer. He's the top seed. You're a 2-time state medalist, 4th in the state last year. He wins a section. He's a top seed. Enzo Merlocki, number 2. He beats Chase Krantz in the Powerade finals. Again, no brainer. Spencer, Merlocki, Kranitz. You got to go McCorkle 4. So, again, I don't want to say this is as easy as taking candy from a kid, but this is pretty easy because Spencer, is clearly at number 1. His only loss is Avery Bassett from Midwest. Merlocki, again, his only loss is the Corrado. He has a win over Chase Krantz. McCorkle wins a very deep section. He's your number 4 seed here.
172 pounds.
So this one, again, not too difficult to do. Luke Augustine, your number 1 seed. He's a returning state medalist. Sammy Starr, number 2. Sammy Starr 2, Finnerty 3, Furman 4. Finnerty has a win over Furman head-to-head, and then I would have Brubach as 5. So that's where I'm saying if Brubach can get into one, he can challenge Finnerty or Furman. Finnerty looked really good at sections. Him and Furman have gone back and forth, but I think Luca's clearly 1, Sammy Starr is clearly 2 here.
189 pounds, one of the deeper weights.
Okay, so 189, you know how we said everything else was easy. 189 is clear as mud. So I'm going Hart 1. Reason being, body of work. Hart has 3 losses this year. He has a win over Roskoski, has a loss to Roskoski, has a loss to Liam Volt-Klaas and Kutchember. Okay, so not bad losses. Hart is a 3-time state qualifier. He's got over 120 wins in his career. He's got, good body of work. Roskoski, I'm putting 2. You split matches with Hart. You're a returning state medalist. You're number 2. Then I'm going Cooper Baxter at number 3. Cooper Baxter wins a tough weight. And then I'm going Liam Volt-Klaas. The thing here is you can make an argument for Hoffman as the 4th. I really don't think Hoffman is a 4th here. I like Hoffman. I think he's been wrestling really well. 2-time regional qualifier. Liam Volt-Klaas, 2-time regional qualifier. I just think Volt-Klaas is, I think he's better. So that's why I would put him 4.
Going through, this is a deep weight class. I think out of this weight class, you could probably say, 6, maybe even 7 guys. If they wrestled their butts off this weekend, they could come home with a WPIAL title. You look at Hoffman then potentially 5. Eli Makel, would you put him then at 6? Corey Borio as 7?
So I actually put Barrero I would put him at 6, Makel at 7. And Barrero had a good power rate tournament, better than Makel. So I would put them that way. Again, I think it's, the top 3 are pretty easy. Then I think 4, 5, and 6, Hoffman's better than Barrero, beats him head to head. But I think Volt-Klaas should be probably in there at the 4th seed based on having a win over Justin Hart, right? You have a win over the number 1 seed. That's got to count for something, right? So that's why I think he's in the 4.
215 pounds, Cole Waitman of Belle Vernon, the likely number 1. Where are you going from there?
So I'm going Logan Harmon, number 2, no doubt about it. Logan Harmon, state qualifier last year, undefeated on the season, bumping up from 89 to 215. Waitman 1, obviously, returning state medalist, WPIAL champion last year. Then I'm going Brady Lesko, is it Lesko? Lezo, I think it is, Lesko, from North Allegheny. You may want to get pronunciation help on that one too, Greg, because if I can't do it, you probably won't be able to do it either. I think he's 3.
You're so good with pronunciations. So
I'm awful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at it. I actually said that to somebody this weekend, and I was like, I'm just notoriously awful at pronouncing people's name. I go him, Brady Lesko 3, Ty Banco 4. This one's screwed up because Banco, he's lost to Lesko. Rohaley and Sarastic and Noah Tustin, you throw them in a bag and you don't know what comes out. So I think it's clearly Waitman, Harmon, Lesko, and Banco as your 1, 2, 3, 4.
285 pounds. You got McChesney 1 and Vance 2. Where's 3?
Yeah, 3's got to be Dawson Dietz. Dawson Dietz from Hampton has been on a roll this season. He's a state qualifier, has over 100 wins in his career. I think he's number 3, and I think Ryan Howard is clearly number 4. Again, McChesney has that head-to-head win over Vance, the last win, the last guy to win. McChesney, Vance, Dietz, Howard. Again, I don't see where you can make an argument for anything else. Tyson Brophy, they split matches with Howard, but Howard has won the last 2. Dietz is better than Howard. He was a state qualifier last year.
Should be a lot of fun this coming week to see how it all plays out here in AAA. 10 a.m. start time at Cannon McMillan, 5 o'clock for the championship matches. And what is the top 3 come out of AAA?
Yep, correct. The top three will make it to the Super Region with Northwest and South Central. That's going to be absolutely brutal. Terrible weight, terrible region to be a part of.
No doubt about it. So, and I guess the other news, that we didn't, I know we kind of talked about it really, quickly, and I know we've had a long show, but the team state finals, we talked about it being basically wrapped up. It is now confirmed to happen, right?
Yeah. So, well, confirmed as of today. It's and everything's to be determined and stand by and subject to change. But yes, it is going to happen on the 27th at Cumberland Valley High School. They're going to wrestle preliminary rounds before that. They're going to wrestle to the semifinals and then go to Cumberland Valley. The first couple rounds are going to be at the top team in the bracket. So, but it's, look at a guy like Noah Tustin. He was eliminated last weekend. He's going to have to wait over a month to compete with the team again. So you're going to have a lot of teams like that are struggling to kind of keep guys around and to wait and in shape. So there's a lot that can happen between now and then, Greg.
Yeah, and even Burl as well. They're down to 4 guys remaining on the team, so they got to keep the rest, the other 8 guys, ready to rock and roll before they can wrestle. I'm saying 12 because they always forfeit 113. So should be a lot of fun. We got the AA at IUP, the top 5 out of the Southwest region, moving on to the Super region. AAA at Cannon McMillan, again top 3 going on to advance into the Super region. There should be a lot of fun. Getting into the nit and gritty now here in these next couple of weeks.
Yep, and I'll be relying on you to let me know what's going on, because I will not be at any more wrestling for the rest of the year. So you keep me posted, Greg, on everything. It's I don't know how the greatest mind in Pennsylvania wrestling is not going to be able to go to the rest of the postseason. But hey, I'm having the birth of my first child. You got I got to do something.
Are you nervous? Are you excited? A little bit of both.
Oh my gosh, I'm completely nervous. You can't tell, but inside I'm crumbling. I'm super nervous. I don't know what to do with an actual child. Like, I'm still waiting for the manual to come in the mail, because I'm not sure what I actually do with the child once it's born. I don't know. But yeah, well, it couldn't have come at like a quote worst time, right? Because of 1, COVID, 2, wrestling. So we're in the thick of wrestling, and I'm trying to keep my head focused on some things, and it's, and of course my job, I got promoted, so my job's stressing me out a little bit. So yeah, it's just kind of like a whirlwind of things going on. So yeah,
let me tell you something.
What's that?
Let me tell you, the manual never comes in the mail. You just learn as you go. I'm sure every person listening right now that is a parent could tell you that. But having a 3-year-old right now myself, you learn as you go, my friend. So don't stress. Don't worry about it. You just take it as it comes each day.
All right. Thank you. I'll be calling you if I need any help.
I don't know if I'm the guy to do it, but hey, I'm here for you, my friend. Want to thank Ian Oswalt of Burl for joining us, and congratulations to him on winning 4 WPIAL championships. And want to thank all of you for listening in to us here on a Sunday evening. And stay safe, and we'll look forward to catching up next week to recap what should be a lot of exciting wrestling action and get you set for the first ever Super Regional Tournament coming up next week. For Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on a WPIAL.